All right, so hello and welcome to Geometry. I am Mrs. Jate, and this getting ready is just kind of a review of some of the skills that you should be familiar with from Algebra 1. I know it's been a minute, but go ahead and work through these the best you can, and we'll talk about them in class. Next, this is just a quick video about who Euclid is. You'll find the link in Canvas under Pages. Everything's organized under Pages. So let's go ahead and you can watch that video at your own pace. The next thing we're going to talk about are some vocabulary words that are important, starting with a plane. So you will have a vocabulary quiz on this, and you can find that on the table of contents, which is on the cover sheet of your packet. And you can see all the lessons that we'll be covering. You can see that there are 9 lessons. And your first Prove It vocabulary will come after lesson 4, which is angles upon angles. All right, so a plane is a set of points that extend without end in all directions along a flat surface. So a great example of a plane is a piece of paper. That is a plane. Your desktop is a plane. Your book is a plane. Something that's important about a plane is that you want to know how we label it. Okay, so you can label it with an uppercase italicized letter, right? So we'd say plane P, or you need 3 letters to name a plane. So if I said A, B, and C, those are all on the plane. So they would work. All right, a line is a set of points that extends without end in 2 opposite directions. So it goes in both directions. Generally, we name a line with 2 letters, or you'll see like a little italicized undercase letter. So we could either call this line M, or we could call this line AB with a symbol on top that has arrows going in both directions. Now, if we just took this part of the line out and called it AB, we'd have something called a line segment. A line segment extends in neither direction, so it extends in 0 directions. And it's basically all the points that are contained within these 2 endpoints. So it has 2 endpoints, and it extends in 0 directions. And then you'll notice that we label it by putting the 2 letters with a line above it. A line that only extends in 1 direction and has 1 endpoint is what we call a ray. Okay, so a ray will have 1 endpoint and 1 direction. So let's say this is RT, then we would call this ray RT. The number over here is very important. It has to be the endpoint. So if my ray is going in the other direction and it's DT, then to name this ray, I would use the same symbol, but the point has to be above the endpoint. Right? Now a point is just a location in space. So this right here is point P. This right here is point Q. Now the word co generally means together. So like your co-worker, your co-student is like somebody that's with you in the class. So if we're saying coplanar, you can kind of see the word plane right here. So basically that means together on the same plane. So an example, if I have this plane here, and then let's say I had this line extending out, and I have this point up here, X, and you can tell this is extending out because of the dotted lines here. It's coming up through the paper. Then A, B, and C would be coplanar. X is floating somewhere above the plane, so it is no longer coplanar. And collinear lives along the same definition is coplanar. You can see the word line in collinear, and that basically just means that the points are together on a line. So that would be like, and we just label them by saying like A, comma, B, comma, C. Now, a non-example of collinear would be like if you had something that looked like this. Okay, what you'll notice is that this is line, this is a separate line. Okay, so X is not in the same line with A and T. All right, and then congruent just basically means equal in size and shape. So a synonym for congruent is the word equal. And the symbol that we use for congruent, that's going to be very important. It's an equal sign with a little squiggly line above it. And basically what the squiggly line means is similar, and the equal sign means the same. Okay, so these are very important vocabulary words, and I'll give you a situation or something that you can look at. Okay, so more words are bisector. So a bisector is going to cut something into two equal pieces. So there's a couple things you can bisect. We're going to talk about angles in here. You can bisect an angle. That means that this angle and this angle are congruent. You can bisect a line segment. And what that means is if I cut this, let's see, this looks like about in half. That means that this side and this side are congruent. And that's how we mark it. So it basically means like if this side is 2 centimeters, then this side is 2 centimeters. If this is 35 degrees, then this is also 35 degrees. So it cuts something in half, 2 equal pieces. And so basically the formula we're going to learn about this is part equals part. Okay, opposite rays are 2 rays that share an endpoint and extend in opposite directions. Okay, so here would be my endpoint D. This is going this direction, this is going in this direction. And so you can say that DE and DF are opposite rays. Now, a midpoint is going to be very similar to a bisector, except a bisector is a point or ray. A middle point is just something that cuts something into 2 equal parts. So this would be your middle point right here. So if this is 4 centimeters, this is also 4 centimeters. Again, a midpoint part is going to equal part. Equidistance just means the same distance from each other.
David Prime, please come to main office.
And intersection is where 2 lines cross. So this right here would be an intersection. And you can have lines that cross like this, or you can have lines that cross perpendicular. It doesn't matter. Either way, you're going to end up with an intersection. The only type of lines that do not have an intersection are these lines right here. We call them, oops, that's terrible. We call these parallel. So parallel lines are the only ones without an intersection. All right, vocabulary. If you want to make vocabulary note cards, you can do that. You can make your own Quizlet note cards. However you want to study these terms, they are yours to study. Excuse me. This is where we're going to do rally table. So for rally table, the rules are partner A is going to answer question number 1. Player B, you're going to coach them through it. Player A, if you do not know how to answer the question, please ask player B. They'll be more than willing to help you. If neither of you can answer the question, ask your other table mates. If the 4 of you have a question, raise your hand and I'll come around and help you. An example of what I'm looking for is you're going to name a plane. This is the picture you're looking at, so you want to think back to when we named a plane, you need 3 points that are on the plane. If you're going to name a segment, you only need 2, lines, so on and so forth. All right, so you're going to go all the way to number 14. Practice is on the back. Let's take a look at this. Okay, for the practice on the back, you had to answer questions 1 through 4. Number 1, it says draw 3 non-collinear points and label them A, B, C. Then draw a D on AB between A and B. Okay, so we want 3 non-collinear points. So I'm going to say like A and B are on the same line, and then I'm just going to make this intersection point, and I'm going to call this C, which is not on the same line. And then draw a point D between A and B. So point D would go here. That would be like the intersection point of the 2 lines. Are points A, B, and D collinear? Well, the answer is yes. A, D, and B are collinear.
Monica, please call the main office. Monica Smith Albright, call the main office, please.
Okay, and then are B, C, and D collinear? Well, you can see that B, C, and D are not collinear. No, B, C, and D are not collinear. Number 3, are CA and CB opposite rays? Well, let's look. C and A aren't even on the same line, so that is no. And then the question is, are DA and DB opposite rays? And yes. DB and DA are opposite rays. Okay, number 4. The question is, true or false? AB has definite length and thickness. And for AB, the answer is, I guess, true in this case, because I have put 2 endpoints, therefore it has a thickness and... All right, so at this point, let's just review what is going to be happening. You have activity 2, this is going to be done in partners, and if you weren't here for this, you'll have to see me to get this activity. And then your exit ticket is actually, you've got 2 things to do. First, you have to go to quizzes. And then I will have a code, and you're going to take a 5 to 10 question exit ticket that will be for a grade. You'll know exactly what you got on it. And then second, you need to go to Khan Academy, and you're going to log into Khan Academy. Your login code depends on what block you are in, and it will be on it'll be in the system for you, and then I have assigned what activities you need to do. So for today, you are going to be responsible to go to Euclid, Father of Geometry, Introduction to Euclidean Geometry, and you're identifying rays, Intro to Euclidean, and you're doing ID, rays, lines, line segments, that whole section. There should be 1, 2, 3, 4 practice problems that you need to do. All right.